Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Korean Atlanta Mentorship. In this video, I'm going to talk about the importance of upbringing, culture, roots, and town pride, right? And to be honest, I've never heard this anywhere except from The Simpsons. And The Simpsons was one of my favorite shows as a kid. I feel like I learned a lot of life lessons from here. And this is one of the life lessons I think is like really important because I just feel like nowadays this is just totally ignored. So there's an episode called Lemon of Troy. And in that episode, Bart actually vandalizes his own city and gets caught by his mom, right? And what the mom, Marge, is trying to do is teach Bart the importance of town pride and local and traditional and cultural roots, right? So the actual quote that she says is that you have roots in this town and you need to show respect for it. And then she says, this town is a part of us all, a part of us all, a part of us all. She says it three times, and she says like she's saying it repeating herself because she wants it to imprint in Bart. And what's funny is that it actually does imprint in Bart, but it's also imprinted in me because after 20 something years later, watching the episode, I still remember this quote, right? And so one of the things that I really want to emphasize is that you come from a place, right? You are affected by the environment that you grow up in. So for example, there's a reason I do not speak Russian or Mandarin, right? Because I was not near an environment where those languages were spoken. Okay. And there are other thoughts and values that I have that came from a certain place that I adored and cherished, and also relationships as well. And one of the most heartbreaking things that I had to experience is that I grew up in one place for, let's say, 10 years of my life from childhood to high school. I have these friendships, I have these relationships, I have these people that I know, and I felt like I have roots in this area, and therefore I have no ever I never have a reason to leave this place, right, that I grew up in. And one of the hardest things I found out is that every single person, 100%, there's not even an exception to this, had no desire after graduating high school to upkeep those roots, to upkeep any sort of tradition. Everything is just transient, right? So it's like you grew up with the same people with the most formative years of your life, and then the moment you graduate high school, they don't care a lick about you. Or maybe they'll just invite you to a wedding, and then when you go to a wedding, they don't really talk to you, right? And what? So the thing that was very frustrating to me was that there was nothing, like I had nothing to hold on to. And that was very depressing to me because I think as human beings, we all want to feel like we want to belong somewhere. I don't know about you, but I just don't want to be a transient from place to place to move place to place and to feel like, oh, I'm forgotten by the people who I was with. But I know that that's very common in modern society. And, I don't know what to point the finger at, but I just know it's a common condition. In fact, I might do this in another YouTube video where I just kind of post screenshots or just say, hey, look at that person just being frustrated in life and record themselves about how lonely and they are and they just don't have any friends. And it's really common, right? And one of the reasons why I think it's common is because people in general do not value any sort of cultural tradition, upbringing, roots, even things that they take for granted, like language, um, it is not valued, right? It's not valued among the general population. And there's not a single person that I can really think about that says, yes, this town that I grew up in, yes, it is a part of, because I can say that about myself, even though I hated where I grew up. But the thing that was important to me, at least, even if I hated growing up there, that I have roots. And I felt like I was crazy because I was the only one who valued those roots, right? I have, a certain cultural attitude or a context that I came from. This is why I speak this language. This is why we are here. And this is what we want to pass on to the next generation. And I think because there's no sense of uh people valuing where they come from, why generational disconnects happen, because what happens is instead of young people, young children learning their values from, their teachers, their parents, their community members, it's just all going to be from media because there's such a big disconnect and there's no desire to pass on anything from generation to generation, right? And so that's why it's really important that we do understand the value of community and roots and making a mark on wherever we're at, right? And so let me just kind of open this up. And so one of the reasons, and I'm actually going to kind of give you the rationale for the name, I called this channel Korean Atlanta Mentorship, is because I wanted to invoke that feeling that there's something here, something local that has roots that's going to teach people, possibly from generation to generation. And I know velocity banking is not, something from like, 1,000 or 2,000 years ago, passed on from generation. But in my mind, that was the intent, right? Like, there's a reason why it has a specific name, a specific group of people, and the invoking of a feeling that we do want to teach whoever wants to learn, right? Because the last thing that you want, and I think the reason why so many people are lost is because there's no sense of roots, no sense of belonging. It is kind of like food, right? You ever like see those food advertisements like, hey, we're local, or we're organic, or we're part of the community, right? It should kind of be the same thing with education as well, right? And you don't have to be a university or professor or professional teacher. You can learn from anybody, right? I learn from anybody and everybody. It doesn't matter if they make less money, more money, doesn't matter. I learn from anybody and everybody, right? And the fact is that we in order for me to grow, I have to have other people learn and grow together with me, right? And one of the reasons why I think people are so stagnant in life, and you'll see all these TikTok videos about like people are frustrated, is because they just see themselves as an individual and they have no ties to the place that they're at. In fact, I kind of have a conspiracy theory about this, that it's almost done on purpose, right? And this is just kind of me blabbing, but you ever notice like how many times when people get promotions, and I don't know if they do this nowadays a lot because of remote work, but usually when traditionally when people got promotions, um, they'd force you to move to a new city, right? So let's say like you worked at Walmart and you got promoted to like, I don't know, a general manager. Hey, you're gonna get your own store, but the your own store is gonna be like in a totally different city or even a different state, and they're just gonna like take you from your local community, right? I think the reason why they do that is because it's much easier to control you as that general manager from the corporate headquarters, because you have no real ties to that local community or that store you're managing, right? And so think about like this is why I think promotions never really happen internally, or I'm sure they do, but not as common, where they pick some random schmo off the up, from another company to take like a managerial position. But they never promote internally. I think one of the reasons why they do that is because let's say you do promote someone who's been in that group for a while. So let's say one of the workers becomes, let's say, the boss or the manager. That boss or manager may be kind of like loyal to the people they've been for 5 to 10 years, right? So in order for it to control, like let's say the means of quote the means of production, what I mean, and this is I may be just a conspiracy theorist, but in my mind, if I were, let's say, corporate headquarters, I want someone who's outside and someone who has no ties to that community, as let's say I'm general manager of a store, so I can easily control that person because they're going to be loyal to me than more to that local community. Hope that makes sense, right? But again, I feel like um, we're all craving and desiring roots and local community, and not just being around people who are just transient. I think that's the thing that's always bothered me, that I feel like so many people are okay spending time in a place, even years of their life with people they don't really make meaningful connections with, right? But one of the things that I want to do is that, just kind of this name, even though I didn't, I'm just kind of explicitly saying it for the first time, is that it's something local, it's something with roots, and there's something that's going to teach values or lessons that possibly from generation to generation. Because what's at least my biggest heartbreak is just feeling like you grow up in a place and there's no roots, no ties, no traditions. Everything's just from going from one fad to another, right? And it's heartbreaking knowing that I grew up in a place and wow, like me having to ask myself, did people really care about me? Like, was I really part of something, or was I just kind of there, right? And I truly felt like, at least for a moment at that time, I really was part of something, and that's why I never had any desire to leave my hometown for quite some time until you come to that realization, like wow, like most people just don't care, right? And if you ever look at articles about California, I think there's just been like you know, it was once the it was a place that everybody strived to be a part of, right? And if you look at articles these days, just type in California, like people leaving California, um, people are leaving in droves because, there's no leadership, there's nothing to be a part of, right? Other than nice weather, there's nothing to grasp or hold on to. And so that's why people leave, because there's nothing to grab onto. Hope that makes sense. But back to you know, the life lesson, wherever you're at, you really have to understand you have roots in where you are. And you do need to show respect for it, because people who don't show respect for where they're at and where they're established, that's going to be just another California where people are just going to leave it worse off and leave when times get tough, right? And understand, you know, that wherever you're at, it's a part of us all, a part of us all, a part of us all. I'm saying it 3 times so that you don't forget it. This town is a part of us all, a part of us all, a part of us all. All right, so this is Korean Atlanta Mentorship. Hope uh this life lesson from The Simpsons made sense. I don't know if you ever seen that episode. It's called Lemon of Troy. Great episode. If you're interested in joining our group, go ahead and click the Google form link below, and we'll get on one-on-one Zoom call, see if you're a good fit for the group. Other than that, have a great day, and we will speak next time.